What's up, everyone? Welcome to another District Gooner Pod. I'm KP. Joining me virtually for the second time, bringing the city perspective to the pod, is Ron. Ron, say hi to the people.
Howdy, howdy. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, we're super excited to have your perspective, especially after what we just witnessed today, Sunday. And this is episode 13. Let's kick off the conversation as we always do on the pitch. But of course, ladies first. Ron, I don't expect that you've watched any of this or you've been following it that much. But on the pod, we try to cover the Arsenal women's as well, at least to share with the listeners how their game went. And they had their second game of the season. It was against Manchester United. It finished 2-2, and that makes their start to the season to be 0-1-1. But Arsenal had a stunning late equalizer from a new transfer, and it was really cool to see. If you haven't seen that, go and check out the highlights on YouTube, or you can also just go to the Arsenal X channel. They posted it. So that's the ladies' side. Let's go into the big match of the weekend. We usually just get like a little pre-match and vibes on the lineup. So what did you think about the City starting line?
Yeah, I mean, it was, for the most part, it was what I expected. I think I got, I want to say 10 of the 11, of the starting 11 I had predicted in the previous pod. I think the only surprise for me was Rico Lewis. He was in, I believe I was thinking he was going to be Doku or Grealish, and then Guardiola just said, no, neither of them, and started Rico in the middle instead and Foden on the left. I liked the lineup. I think that it was a really cool shout, first of all, for Rico to get the start. He's only 18 years old. He had a fantastic midweek. I know that Pep wanted to have a little bit more control in the middle. That was something that he was looking forward to. And I know that Kovacic doesn't necessarily contribute that as much as Rodri does. And so that was the reasoning behind having Rico and Bernardo and Kovacic in the middle, with Alvarez and Foden kind of mixing it up as well. So I like the lineup at the beginning. What do you think of the Arsenal starting 11?
For the Arsenal 11, just before I get into that, hey, real quick gut check, man. Would you say Calvin Phillips a flop signing? Just
yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have many, but Calvin is for sure one of them.
Okay, yeah, that was just I'm surprised he gets no time at any.
He was never going to start.
Yeah. So, anyways, for Arsenal, dude, pre-match. So I'll be honest with you, I was actually watching the West Ham and Newcastle United game in the morning, and it looked like West Ham were hosting Newcastle, and it looked like a really sunny day. So I was already pretty excited just based off of that kickoff and I think East London. So I was pretty excited in seeing like, okay, well, beautiful day for it. And then the Arsenal pre-match kind of came on the stream, and I saw Graham Lasso on the commentary team. So it made me think about Steven. It's like lucky he's not on the pod, and he had some comments too. And a couple of times he brought up the Tottenham game, classic. I don't know what's with him, man.
Yeah.
But then the lineup itself, I thought it was interesting that Saka didn't make the team, right? He wasn't even in the squad, and the manager got it wrong midweek. That's okay. Hopefully over these next couple of weeks he can recover. What I did also see in the squad was that Thomas Partey and Martinelli were on the bench, and that was super encouraging. I wasn't really expecting them to play when I saw them on the team sheet, but I thought very cool. They'll definitely be fit post-international break. And then, the Raya got the start. That's the only other thing about the Arsenal to call out. And I think it's also fair to say, let's just, go into the game with that Raya segue, because for me, especially in the first 20 minutes, Arsenal ended up winning this game with an 86-minute winner from Martinelli. But in the first
deflection winner.
Sure. In the first 20 minutes, however, I thought Raya was super shaky. He was the one player that had me worried about Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. It didn't look like City were too keen on pressing him unless it was an obvious situation where Alvarez had that one where he almost blocked it straight into the net. But they didn't look too keen on pressing him overall. So he had to make a lot of the decisions. He had to decide where he was going to go with the ball. He had sent it a few at the beginning, very long. And then his long balls really weren't on that much until the second half. But yeah, at the very beginning, he was very shaky. Noted a couple of times that, for the first 15 minutes especially, he was not on it as far as his distribution goes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there was one when he did get pressed by Alvarez, and it was scary. I thought maybe that could go in. It hit the side netting. I know Eddie scored a couple like those for us, but I've seen Mane do it before. But anyways, in the first 20, the game, it was it wasn't sort of. My immediate thought was they've worked out our passing pattern. That was my immediate thought in the first 20, that they've just worked out our passing pattern. There seemed to be like box down the middle that we just couldn't break through, and we were struggling. But also, Raya gave a corner away very early on that came off of his mistake, and City almost scored. How did you feel as a City fan when that didn't go in and Ake hit it over?
Yeah, I mean, it gives you FIFA vibes, right? When the ball's bouncing around in there, Guardiola had a really good touch. He had a shot that Rice cleared off the line, gets recycled. Holland is able to head the ball over to Ake. I mean, Ake's a left back / center back. I don't necessarily expect him to finish that, but if you're in that position and you're a professional football player, you would kind of expect, okay, that ball should be at least on target. It goes over. Arsenal really let off the hook early in regards to that, because if an early goal is scored, especially based on the way that it started, I think Arsenal would be very, very shook from that beginning.
Yeah, it was really important that we didn't give up an early goal. I think one of the things you called out on the previous pod was that, one, Pep wants to control the game away, and two, a lot of times you try to get that with an early conversion. I noticed because Arsenal also are kind of grooved that way, right? So it was really nice that didn't come to fruition. One thing I want to call out, which I didn't touch on in the pre-match with the lineup, is Jorginho got this start today over Kai Havertz, and it was actually Jorginho in the 6, and Declan Rice was playing more of the 8 role on the left. And I think part of that decision was really to make sure that we don't give up anything early, that when the game, or maybe sometimes the fans, especially Arsenal supporters, when we know we're really up against it, we haven't won a game against Manchester City in 12, I think, of the last matchups have gone against us.
12 Premier League matchups, yeah.
Yeah, so fans can tend to be very tense, and yes. Jorginho really helps with that. His experience really helps with that. So I was very pleased with that decision, and I think it played a part, because I just wrote down 20 minutes in, we're still in it, but also kind of we're not in it because the football just wasn't there. Our attack felt meh. It's very separated. I thought Eddie didn't have a great game for me personally. There was one where he got a tackle, and the crowd got really behind him, I think in the 35th minute or so. But other than that, in the 25th minute, he actually had a legitimate chance that, for me, that has to be on target, or it can't be that wide. It wasn't good enough. I have to see better there, especially at a game of this caliber.
You'd hope that he wraps his foot around the ball. Didn't get it right. And it was probably a good 5 or 6 yards wide. I was initially very scared because that cut inside was very much on. I know Ruben was trying. It was a little bit slow today, just generally, but on that chance, he cut inside. I was expecting the curler. I was expecting at least an on-target finish. It just was not that. You had mentioned how in the first 20-ish minutes, it didn't feel like Arsenal, they were in the game, but not really. And you could see that 27th minute, Odegaard hypes up the crowd, right? And I think that you could see on his face, he's like, I can tell that we're on the back foot here. I can tell that we need some encouragement from the fans. I think he had an interception at some point. The ball goes out of play, G's up the crowd. Crowd gets behind him, to be fair, and I think that was the start of the crowd getting much more into the match overall. But yeah, I mean, you could tell that Arsenal were not comfortable. They were not on the front foot whatsoever.
They weren't, but then after that, you're right, in the midpoint of the game, that sort of last 30 minutes of the first half, I felt like Arsenal had gotten on top. And there were two key chances that also really hyped the crowd up and really made them be engaged. There were two critical talking points coming out of this game, which is Kovacic in the 28th minute has a bad tackle on Odegaard. It studs up. It's one of those where it's borderline. It's just a question of, is it a yellow or a red? Like, that's just the question for that one. And then literally like 6 minutes later, 34th minute, another tackle from Kovacic after he's just gotten a yellow, studs up again. It's a foul, and it should be a second yellow. The player should be off the pitch. And the fans were just super into it. They were singing, "How much are they paying you?" And to your point of like football fans loving conspiracies, and like there it was. And it's just overall, I don't know. For me, I don't know what the referee is doing there. That's a big miss for me.
Yeah, I didn't think that the first challenge was a red card, and that's obvious. I mean, like, you ask an Arsenal supporter, they're going to say, that's a red card all day. You ask a City supporter, they're like, that's a little harsh. Maybe, like, you know, it's a shade of orange, right? Like, that's something that people say often when it's kind of an in-betweener. Like, I don't think that if he were to be sent off, I don't think I would have had as many complaints just generally, because it had the looks of a pretty harsh challenge. If it was higher, I think he definitely would have been sent off there. As far as the second challenge in the 35th minute, he has to be off 1,000%. Graham Lasso cracked me up during that time. He's like, well, you have to control the game as well as controlling, the rules of the game, blah, blah. Like, that seemed like a very ridiculous explanation to what had happened. I mean, as a City supporter, I want Kovacic to be on the pitch, but at the same time, like, he definitely should have been off. It didn't really make any sense. I don't know what Kovacic was doing. I thought he had a poor match altogether. But yeah, we were very lucky at the first half to not be sent off. Initially in the replay, I don't remember if you remember that, they had shown the City side, the City bench, as the check was going on, and the crowd got G'd up, and they showed City's reaction to that. And I had thought that he got sent off, and I was like, oh, God. But no, he did not. So, is what it is.
So, yeah, and the only other thing on the Kovacic fouls that I want to call out is, look, it was on two players who don't usually stay down. So that's the other indication for me that they were naughty fouls, because Brian Odegaard, he stays down for a long time. Declan Rice actually just stays down for a fairly long time too for him. So not great. They got it wrong. But that's okay. I'm kind of glad that we get this win over Manchester City, and it's against 11. And there's already excuses of like not having Rodri, not having Kevin De Bruyne. So I'm pleased with how it kind of worked out in the end. Right? Ball don't lie.
Yeah, I'm sure the goal was connected to the 35th minute, not sent off. Yeah, for sure.
So listen, the half ended 0-0. My only thought was, at like the 45th minute, something happened. I don't exactly remember what, but I wasn't very happy with Eddie, and I just wrote down like, I want Eddie off. I want Kai Havertz to go in and go up top, because I think he actually does well when he's up top for us, and that was my call. Did you want any changes from your manager at half?
Yeah, I wanted Kova off essentially right after the second foul, and they didn't give him the red card. I thought he was really rash today. I thought that he was not passing well overall. He seemed a little bit off it. I mean, this is only his second injury back, or second game back from an injury, so he's a little bit slow in that regard. I was hoping for Nunes to come on for Kovacic. And then I was thinking Doku to come on for Alvarez or for Foden. There was not really much of an outlet outside of Holland. There's a lot of men in the midfield, which I think was purposeful by Guardiola. Kyle Walker, if you saw him on the right, was providing most of the width on the right side, right? Like he was playing super high up. The back line would shift to the right when Kyle Walker went up. The left side wasn't necessarily anyone playing on the wing. Guardiola was out there for the most part, but other than that, it was essentially just vibes on the left side. There was no winger really there for the most part. So I was hoping for those two to come off at half or come on at half, but he didn't end up actually making any subs at halftime. But Arteta did.
Yes. Martinelli for Leo Trossard right at halftime. Very interesting. I thought Leo had a tough game. You're never going to expect him to beat Kyle Walker for pace. So that was just like never in the cards, stretching them from that side. And I also thought Jesus on the wing, to your point of your new signing, the left back, a couple of times he got around him in the back. And that's like my one criticism of Jesus that I could tell, especially playing on the right wing. He wasn't doing so good with the tracking defensively. So that's the one thing about Saka and Martinelli that's often underrated. Actually, is that the two of them are very, very good defenders. Nelly came on.
If I could just say something on that really quick too. I think what you saw there too is that because the back line shifted, right, when Kyle Walker was in possession or helping the offensive side of the match. Guardiola had to play very much inside, right? Like he was playing a lot more inside. So they were sending a lot of balls on the right wing just past Guardiola. And I don't really expect anything from him there. I think that when the ball was in that spot and Guardiola had that time to recover, I think he recovered very well. I don't think that Jesus gave him too much issue just as a whole. But yeah, like when he's playing that far inside, Arsenal could tell at the very beginning, like, okay, that spot is going to be open. They tried to send in a couple of balls over the top to Jesus, who had some possession, but didn't really do too much with it in the first half, especially.
No, but he's very good at bodying back into the two players for some of those balls in the air. But so going back to Martinelli, he came on and he had a fire under his belly, man. He right away was making a lot of impact in the first 5 minutes. I also thought Declan Rice was playing a lot higher, and Arsenal were just on top in the second half to start out the first 15, and then at that point, Manchester City did end up making a couple of subs.
Yes, that was in my notes as well. Arsenal was controlling the first 15. 20 minutes of the half, probably around 15 minutes. I thought that Raya had calmed down significantly as well, and Bernardo was also playing a little bit higher up. In the 68th minute, Guardiola wanted to make some changes. He took on Nunez, Stones, and Doku for Kovacic, Alvarez, and Lewis. This is very rare, I would say, from Pep. He often does not make 3 subs, especially at a time, until the game is over. Whether it's we're up 3-0 or whether the game is out of our hands. That doesn't really happen that much. But this was very rare, and it was actually kind of refreshing to see Stones definitely playing through the middle. Doku is electric, didn't have that great of a match. And Nunez, I was hoping for him to come on during half, so I was very pleased with the 3 subs that Guardiola made.
3 subs he made, and 3 subs were countered by Arteta 10 minutes later at the 75th minute. He brought on Tomiyasu, Kai Havertz, and Thomas Partey for Zinchenko, Eddie, Jorginho. I thought Zinchenko was having a good game, but I agreed with the sub in that moment when Doku came on. He actually came on and he was playing on the right wing, which I think you had called for him to start out on the left wing, or to come on and be on the left wing. So then I saw Tommy come on and immediately Doku switched wings, which I'm glad he did, because I heard someone saying stuff about a hot dog stand, and Benny Blanco said, "Hey, what's up, man? Welcome to this side of the pitch. See ya. Nice little meg out there. I enjoyed that, and no, I was very pleased. All of the subs that Mikel Arteta made led up and had a role to play in the big moment of the match in the 86th minute when Arsenal scored. Partey played it. Tommy headed it to Havertz. Havertz settled it, laid it back for a Martinelli shot, which it does look on target, the shot. Now, I know he gets a deflection. Maybe it's not going top bins. Maybe Ederson can save it. I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's not what happened, right? What happened is him picking up the ball from the back of the net.
Yeah, okay. I mean, Ederson had that covered 1,000%. You could see in the replay that he had shifted. He had expected Martinelli to take that shot to the far right-hand corner. Ederson had made his shift. I think he would have been comfortable with the save. Obviously, it goes off Ake's head and goes into the back of the net. Deflection again, I will say. Reminds me of the Community Shield earlier this year. Deflections have definitely been on Arsenal's side in the last 2 matches against City. So it was just, I think my perspective of that is just, it was always going to be either like a moment of magic or it was going to be a bit of luck to break the deadlock, right? I mean, nothing taken away from the move itself, obviously, because I don't think they expected Tomiyasu to be that high. Tomiyasu lays that off super well. Havertz does well also to shield that ball and give it to Martinelli. So, again, nothing against that move whatsoever, but the deflection itself is very lucky, of course. In close games like that, I think something similar to that kind of goal is going to happen. A ball bounces your way, a ball doesn't bounce your way. Similar to that Rodri late winner, right? The ball just bounces right up to him, finishes it to the back of the net. I think it was Arsenal's this time. That's okay.
Yeah, look, good game. They added 4 minutes at the end. Nothing major. It just felt like pretty routine end to the game there. I think the only other thing about the game to maybe chat about is who was your man of the match?
So, I want to be objective about it, of course, because I'm not one that is puts the blinders on and only sees for my team. I guess man of the match might be Martinelli, because he had an excellent second half when he came on. He was easily the most dangerous player on Arsenal's side of the pitch, and probably for the whole match, or for both sides. I still believe that Guardiola was also really, really good for the whole match. He did super well defensively overall. He even provided a couple of balls from the left wing into the center. I know that Phil Foden kind of miscontrolled one that I think that could have been a good chance for the goal. But I think that Guardiola really showed his class. If it ended in a draw or if it ended in a City win, I think Guardiola for sure would have gotten the man of the match. But of course it didn't end that way. I think my man of the match would have to be Martinelli in that regard. How about you?
It's hard. I think I thought our defense had a very good game today. Mm-hmm. City had 4 shots today, which is the lowest tally they've accumulated it under Pep Guardiola since he's moved to England. So in the past 7 years. Mm-hmm. And I thought Saliba, did you see the body check on Haaland? It's the clips that was making the rounds. A foul.
That's a foul. Yeah.
That's a hot take on the ball.
He's running for the ball. Saliba's not going to play that ball whatsoever. He puts his shoulder into him, and that's a foul, 1,000%. He impedes him.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's never a foul. But wow.
That's your perspective, and that's okay.
Oh, hey, thanks for bringing a City perspective to the pod, dude. This is maybe what we needed. This is what the listeners wanted. Oh man, I cannot believe you said that with your chest, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with saying that. That's a foul.
My man of the match is Declan Rice. I thought he had an excellent game. He really showed his. He just won a few balls that we haven't had. Like a couple of interceptions, a couple of tackles of just a midfielder that has been missing for a long time in this side. And today was it's one of those that just money well earned, right? And also I think it's a good pivot to maybe go around the league. We usually like to think things off the pitch and talk about some storylines, but I know there were a lot of good results around the league this weekend, so maybe we can go there instead and close out the episode with some of the stories off the pitch, because as usual on the pod we do have a tendency to call things, bro. I want to give you the props you deserve. 2-2, Liverpool, Brighton. How about that?
Yeah, so I knew there was going to be goals in that match. It was a fun game. I was watching the Liverpool-Brighton match while you were watching the West Ham-Newcastle match, which was also fun, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, goal to start for Brighton. Liverpool gets 2 back, and then, boom, Brighton equalize on some pretty poor set-piece defending from Liverpool. Like, that was pretty horrible on their part. So, yeah, very fun match. I think as far as top 4 goes, I don't think that either of us are necessarily have our eyes on a top 4 finish. That's not the prize at the end of this this year or this season. I think we're both definitely looking to win the title. But, you know, a Liverpool tie is always nice. A Brighton tie is always nice because it, you know, obviously they're not getting three points.
Yeah, and also Newcastle dropping points is nice because it felt like they were getting a little bit too loud, right?
Yes.
A big game against PSG, suddenly they feel like they've conquered the world, right? So it was a nice little humbling in East London, which, by the way, there were a lot of questionable decisions in that game as well. West Ham, Newcastle ended 2-2. Good game. Isak had a brace. But the referee, this yellow card gesturing that's been going around, right? And I'm curious if you saw this or not, but I think a West Ham player gestures for a yellow after he's just been fouled very harshly. The yellow is given, but so is the yellow to the West Ham player for gesturing. Literally 5 minutes later, Newcastle player, there's a foul, gesturing, nothing. So it's just, the consistency is so hard with something like that, which is so frustrating. But in the heat of the moment, I don't know. What's your stance on this yellow card issue?
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to call it one way, they have to call it one way for everybody, every situation. It doesn't matter if it's a small, gesture, if it's a big gesture. Like, you just have to, if you want that out of the game completely, then the referees have to feel emboldened enough to call it every time, because that's how it will be eradicated, right? If you know that you're going to get a yellow, and say you're on a yellow already, you're not going to make that gesture. You've seen people on yellow cards do that and not get it called. I mean, it's similar to the one where, you have the ball on the pitch, you lose it's a foul on your team, and you kick the ball away, right? That's another inconsistent piece, and I find it kind of on the same level as the gesturing for the yellow card. Sometimes you kick the ball away and it's fine. Sometimes you kick the ball away and it's like a yellow card right away. So if you're gonna call it for everybody, you got to call it for everybody. There can't be any inconsistency in regards to that for the referees. That's how conspiracies start, right? Like, that's how conspiracies, like, Erling Haaland has 5 misplaced kicks for the ball after losing a foul, and he has no yellow cards, right? Like, people will keep track of these really stupid moments. These Twitter videos will come around, and people will say, oh, should have got a second yellow here, should have got a second yellow there. That's how conspiracies start. The referee association really is not doing themselves any favor in this regard, I think, for me. No,
and we're always going to bring up these inconsistencies on the pod. I don't care if it's against Arsenal. I don't care if it's in favor of Arsenal, and if it's somewhere else, and I see it in the league, I see it happening. I'm going to call it out because it's unfair, and we have to keep these guys honest. We really do. I want more. I want a little bit more, and I want this conversation to be happening. So the only thing that happened this weekend, well, two other games, kind of interesting, right? I think Luton against those guys. I got a text from you saying, "Hey, a little bit of something happening might be happening here." Nothing. They ended up pulling it out. But your noisy neighbors too had a crazy game where they came through and like right near the end they pulled something out of the hat.
Yeah. Very disappointing to see. I'd watched that United and Brentford match. I have another friend that is an Arsenal supporter, actually, text me or send me a tweet of the disallowed goal for United, which would have been their equalizer, right? Literally not any more than 30 seconds later, United scored their equalizer. 3 minutes later, they score one to go on top, both by Scott McTominay. So you hate to see it. You really want to see United especially be kicked while they're down. And it would have been so funny if they had lost to Brentford after going last in their Champions League group midweek. So yeah, I mean, Scott McTominay became a goal-scoring menace apparently in 15 minutes, which was pretty insane to watch.
It was. Well, that's it for the league. It's international break now. The couple of weeks off here. I do want to say a couple of stories off the pitch to just call out. They're not really stories. They're just more fun things. Today was Benny Blanco's birthday. Happy 26, Benny.
He was so up for it.
He was up for it, dude. 50 million, well spent. Sometimes feels like the manager's son. It's just a one signing that it's a marquee Arteta signing. Sure. I think at that time, and it's really paid off. It's really paid off, man. Mm-hmm. And I'm really happy to have him on the squad. Steven called him an engine of the team, and all I gotta say is vroom vroom, dude. Enjoy your birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Benny Blanco. Had a great match today. I thought he played really well. Was really secure. Yeah, I mean, at the very beginning, right, when he signed for the $50 million from Brighton, it was kind of out of left field, right? Like, wasn't expecting that much of a price tag for someone from Brighton, especially because that was the very beginning of Brighton's rise. I know he had kind of a little bit of a rough start, started in center back and then moved over to right back. So it's always fun to see, players do well, especially when it's players that don't play for a team that I actively dislike or hate. So yeah, good for him. Kind of on that same level, Ederson, 300th match for City. I love this man. He has revolutionized how we see goalkeepers in the Premier League, I would say. Alisson, for sure, is the better keeper. He plays similar to Ederson, but I don't think anyone in the world matches his distribution output. I think that he is easily the best ball-playing goalkeeper in the league and in the world. So cheers to that guy. I love him so much. He's improved his form from last year so much already. So yeah, I'm happy to have Ederson at our club. Couldn't see any other keeper in the world start for us. So happy for him.
300 matches is impressive. And it actually is a good segue into another streak that came to an end today. Bukayo Saka had 87 straight starts until today. So I fully expect him, hopefully, to be back after the international break. And the question for me is, how long will he go? What will be the next record? I mean, I want to see triple digits. I think it's a lot harder.
I don't think you actually want to see triple digits. I don't think you want that.
I do. I've been reflecting more about why he played the Champions League game. Look, yes, the amount of knocks week after week after week led to the muscle injury because obviously you get knocks in little places, then you have to add more stress to certain areas, and then the muscle snaps. Okay, got it. I'm not a scientist. Don't quote me on how that works, right? our doctor in Arizona, we're gonna have to call him in.
He's not objective though, so it'd be hard.
But look, it's more than just him playing for us. It's him playing for the international fans that might be in France. It's him playing for Lens. It's out of respect to them. It's out of respect to your opponent as well. Some of their fans are showing up wanting to see Saka in a weird way, right? It's like, so if I go to an Arsenal City game, I'm also going to look forward to seeing Haaland, right? I'm just going to look forward to seeing this player. So a lot of those international European games, it just feels like people are coming to see this person play. So for that, it makes sense to me why he gets to be on the pitch so much.
And I agree with that. I think that if you have the ability to play, if you're fit enough to play, but if there is a risk of you having like a long-term injury from playing this match, I mean, you have to be smart about it. That's something that City's medical team is really, really good at. If they think that you're at risk for playing or for getting an injury, if you play, then you're not going to play. So perhaps, Saka was the sacrificial lamb that had to end another streak, which was the 12 matches that Arsenal had lost to City in a row. Perhaps it needed to happen. One streak needed to end in order for the other streak to end. Who knows? Coincidence? I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but maybe. No. But good for Saka. Hope he gets well soon. Hope he's back up to the international break firing.
Yeah, a lot of cool records were set or broken today, right? There's another one here that like Arsenal have beaten Manchester City in a Premier League home game without conceding for the first time since April of 2012. That's more than a decade.
That's a huge shout. That's crazy.
That's a crazy number, dude. Beating them without conceding a goal at home. 10 years. 10 play. That's crazy. So
that's all sorts of managers, right? That's Arteta, that's Unai, that's Wenger, that's Guardiola, that's Pellegrini, I think Mancini as well. Like that's kind of crazy. That's a pretty big shout. That's nuts.
Yes. All right, man. Well, I think that's mostly everything I had. Kept the pod pretty tight. Pretty good conversation. Anything else you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah. I will say that the narrative was already written. I think with Rodri gone, it's a different story. I'm excited to see Arsenal come to the Etihad with our full squad. Kevin will be back by that time as well. We'll see how the big guns fare when Arsenal comes to town and see when everyone's fit. Hopefully, Saka will be fit as well, and we'll get that nice little rematch at some point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully you'll be back on the pod for that if sort of schedules allow. But hey, really cool. Got the win. Super nice. We go into international break, and with that, I want to thank everyone for spending time with us. And hey, if you like the podcast, please rate and leave a review. You can also let us know if you have any feedback for Ron. He's always he's an open book, right? I welcome it as well. I know Steven does for sure too. So get those commenting pens going, and hey, share it on social media. It's the best way for others to find out about us. I'm not sure if we'll have another episode here over international break. Maybe we will. I guess you'll just have to subscribe. Did you have fun, dude?
I had great fun.